Hi everyone, and welcome to the Book Refuge, and welcome to my April TBR. So far, this little game of mine has been having about like a 50-50% chance of, or 50-50% success rate. I've been getting through about half the books I pick on this each time, and you know what? That's okay. I've still been reading a ton of books every month. They just haven't all been backlist titles like I've been trying to do, but what can I say? So this month I have, as usual, if you haven't seen the other videos in this series, you can go ahead and go to my TBR playlist, and it has January's Explains, the game that we're doing. But really all it is I have a list of 52 prompts, and I deal myself some cards, and then we look at what the cards are, what the prompt is, and I pick a book that matches it. This was supposed to help me get through some backlist titles that I owned because I own a lot of books that I haven't read. So far I've been doing okay with this, but whatever. It's all for fun. It's all Booktube goodness. I have 4 books with me here that I would like to get picked through prompt somehow. Otherwise they will get added to it. One of them is a new release, which is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. This is the story of a girl who was molested or groomed slash was in a sexual relationship with her teacher, and 17 years later she's now reflecting back on how at the time she thought this was so romantic and a beautiful thing, and come to find out this guy is actually a predator. I really want to read this because I really love age gap romances, but I also know that in real life, when you're dealing with a student-teacher situation for this, it is very harmful and not okay to happen. And so I really want to read a book like this to help remind me and give me perspective of that things aren't just fantasy. There are people who are affected by this, and if it is done in a harmful way, it's not good. My friend Murphy over at her channel, Murphy Napier, she really loved this book. We don't always like the same things, but this kind of story I feel we will both find really poignant and powerful. So I want to get to that. Also, the book that you guys picked for us to buddy read / you want me to read is Sherwood by Megan Spooner. I think this is kind of fitting because a few months back, maybe even 6 months ago now, we read Hunted together, which was a Beauty and the Beast / East of the Sun, West of the Moon retelling. And this is a retelling of Robin Hood. I have been wanting to read this one, and I can't believe it's been a year since it came out. So we are going to read this one together. Then another new release that I've been hearing a few good things about is A Heart of Blood and Ashes, which is the first in A Gathering of Dragons by Milla Vane. I first heard of this by literally just seeing it when it just came out at Barnes & Noble, and then I heard it mentioned in the podcast Fated Mates, and I heard that they really loved it. And then I've been seeing some people in my romance club that I'm in that they've read it, and it definitely seems out my alley. It's a historical romance, but I've heard it's really sexy. There's dragons and magic, so it's gonna be like a fantasy historical romance, and I'm all about that. So I want to try to get to that. And then the historical romance series that you picked for me to start is Falling into Bed with the Duke by Lorraine Heath. And I'm really excited because this book, as well as a couple of the other ones in this series, I've really been wanting to read. And so I'm really glad you guys picked this one. So those are 4 books that I want to get to. We'll see what my cards do to me. And yeah, let's see. So I got my cards here. The way that I do this is I deal one. So something else to keep in mind, where I'm going to see which books get picked here today, but since we are all still in quarantine and I don't know how long that's going to last, if these books aren't horrible to me, if these cards aren't horrible, we might pick a few more because I know I'm going to get through a lot of books and it'd be fun to pick a few more. So let's go. First pick, Queen of Spades. What is that? This one says Rita Brandon Sanderson. Oh boy. How does that be the first one that pops up? Like, What the heck? I guess we'll just put The Final Empire back on the TBR and give it a try again. This was picked for January. I was going to try to read this with my friend Becca, and it didn't happen. But we picked Rita Brandon Sanderson, so let's put it back on. I was just in a live chat today with Murphy's Patreons, and everyone's always talking about Brandon Sanderson, and I love him. The things I have read, I've liked. So let's try this again. Although I could pick Starsight. No, let's go with this. We'll put this on the TBR and see if we get to it. Next, the Six of Clubs. Read a 5-star prediction book. Well, that should be one of these ones, I think. I'm going to go with My Dark Vanessa because I really think this is going to be a 5-star for me just from what Murphy said, from the little bit of research that I've done on it. I don't think it will be hard at all, excuse me, for this book to be a 5-star read for me. So we're going to pick My Dark Vanessa for that one. 7 of Spades. Reread a book. Oh, choice for this because it's pretty, it's not super long, and it's gonna be fun. So I picked A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. This is on my list of rereads. This book is about this girl named Gemma Doyle, and her mother has died, and her father, he's going a little bit crazy. So she's going to this girls' boarding school called Spence Academy, and there's some like mystical things happening. She's not really fitting in with the popular girls, but there's some weird things happening at this school, and she kind of gets drawn in to this group where things are going on. I don't know what else to say, but this book, I loved this series. I read it in high school, and me and a few of my friends read it together, and I really want to give it a reread. I got all the books for really cheap on Book Outlet, and I just thought it would be a fun one to reread. So we'll add that to the stack. Next, we have 8 of Spades. Read a book with a strong female character. Well, I think we'll go with Sherwood for this, because since the main character, her name is Maid Marian, and she's kind of taking over for Robin Hood. So I imagine she's going to be a pretty strong, tough chick. So this one works for what we already have, kind of what I need to read. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Sherwood for reading a book with a strong female character. And then the last one is the Queen of Clubs. And this one says, read a fantasy romance, which is this one. Perfect. It even says fantasy romance on the back. So we are going to do A Heart of Blood and Ashes by Milla Vane. And so this one, I'll read the blurb on this then. So it says, a generation ago, the Western realms were embodied in endless war. Then the destroyer came. From the blood and ashes he left behind, a tenuous alliance rose between the barbarian riders of Parash and the walled kingdoms of the south. This alliance is all that stands against the return of an ancient evil, until the barbarian king and queen are slain in an act of bloody betrayal. And so this guy, the main guy here, Matt, what's his name? Maddock. It's his parents that were killed. And then there's a young woman that he's supposed to capture, but she's actually a legendary warrior queen. And there is dragons. So we're going to pick that one. So then the only one that didn't work for one of those then is Falling in Bed with a Duke, which is totally fine. We're going to pick that one. So we're at 6 books for this. And then I want to throw in a couple others that I want to read right now. Let's see what we got. So we got King of Diamonds. Oh crap, I'm regretting this. The kings are not a good thing. Kings are not good. Oh, praise Jesus. This one says read a new author for the King of Diamonds. I can totally do that. I want to pick, so, and I didn't really clarify this. I just said on my prompts, it says read a new author. That can either be new to me or a new author in general. And I want to read The Bromance Book Club by Lyssa K. Adams because the second book just came out recently. I won't put the second one on the TBR, but I'm sure if I like this one, I'll read that. So this one is about a group of guys who they start a romance book club together to try to understand the women in their lives better by reading romance novels. And I know this one is about Gavin Scott, and he discovers that his wife has been faking her pleasure with him. And so he is trying to discover how to change that through romance novels, which I think is just such a clever idea, and it looks super fun. And this one is also a sports romance, which I lately have been really into those. And I think this would be fun. And the last one is the Jack of Diamonds. Ooh, which this one says, read a book you have little hope for. That's not comforting. What does that mean? So this book was also on the Choose Me to Read It, and nobody chose it. And I really I bought this when I was going through like a fantasy, like mystical binge again, but I really don't know how I'm gonna feel about it because I may be past its prime. But I'm gonna try to do Frostbite by David Wellington. So this book isn't very long. It's under 300 pages, and it's supposed to be about this girl who gets bitten and she gets turned into a werewolf, and like that's all that I know about it. And I haven't heard like super great things about it, but it seemed interesting to me when I found it on Book Outlet. So maybe we'll just put this one in here too. That's such a weird prompt. I came up with these prompts at a really weird time, but there we go. So that's with 7 card draw and then 1 extra. So we have 8 books on the TBR this month, and I really like this. So one of the things I want to try to do as well is I want to get through all the books that are on my TBR, but I also want to be putting in as much romance as I can because I own a ton of romance. But somehow, whenever we do these TBRs, I don't end up with romance books on them. And then during the month, I end up reading a ton of romance and not any of the books on my TBR. So I really want it to be a more equal mix between like the other books I own and the books that I'm actually in the mood for right now. So I hope by putting, you know, like half of these books being romance, that I will read more of them. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Make sure, of course, if you want to be a part of the Sherwood Buddy Read, my Discord is always listed down below. So you will join through the Discord. You will either have to download the app for your computer or your phone, and then you will see once you've joined it that there underneath it are all of the buddy reads for the past months, and there will be one for Sherwood, and we will get that started soon. So thank you so much for watching. I put up new videos 3 to 4 times a week. All my social medias are down below in the description, and I'll see you next time. Bye!